term project. All right, hello. So this is a little bit of an overview for everybody. For those students who are not in class today, please listen to your classmates as they give you a lesson in the section of chapter 5 that talks about conflict. So we're going to start off with Pedro, who's going to come up, and he's going to explain a little bit about culture and how culture is important to understand perspectives. And since this could apply to your own projects, you may want to think about what he has to say and even use it in your term paper. So, or not, it's up to you. So, Pedro, come on up and tell our classmates, what did you learn already?
All right.
Finger in the front. Right there.
All right, so
Yes.
So I had culture and conflict. Yeah. So culture is an important factor to consider when you are trying to study or resolve conflict. Usually in between other people that are not like you. So my paper is going to be on genocide in Mexico, and so I think that culture is important to put in your head when you're trying to resolve a conflict, because not everyone's like you. And so one thing that I got from does anybody know what save face means? So
Well, save face is in a way trying to keep what seems to be your public back.
Right. Right. So everyone, when you're trying to talk to anyone, even if I'm trying to talk to Miss K, I'm gonna try to keep my reputation up, and I feel like that's what everyone does in society. We try to, keep your reputation up. No one's gonna try to act a fool when you're, having a conversation with anybody if you are. Yeah. So, face is the image we want to project. Sorry if you can't read my writing. Okay. And from face, we also derive face work. So face work is the communication strategies that we use to maintain that level of respect we want to project into society about ourselves. So it's just how you talk to someone, the strategies you use. Some people might be more confident than others. So, asking questions and seeming interested, as we said in the last class, that can put you up into, this. So face negotiation theory argues that the fact that people in all cultures negotiate through communication. So everyone negotiates through communication. Everyone negotiates through talking in a different way. And the way that you communicate through society is how you're gonna put yourself out there.
let me ask you, because we can stop here
Okay.
for you, because let me ask you a question. Y'all are understanding this, right? So we want to protect our self-image, which is therefore our self-esteem as well. And when you look at your project, we have a cultural description oftentimes, which could be a stereotype about males in Mexico, all right? Is that a stereotype, or is that actually something that needs to be considered as a cultural persona of male behavior, relationship to face?
Can be.
Okay.
So, patriarchy in Mexico can be a stereotype, but it is also very, I think it's a problem that, is really big. We need to address it. Yes, it's stereotypical because, I mean, I'm not from Mexico, like I was born here, but seeing from like other people that were like my dad, my grandfather, they're very just, dominant or try to be dominant. And, I think that it derives from the culture that they're from.
Okay, very good. Absolutely. So it influences, but it does not determine. Right?
Correct.
But if you were to approach your father or your grandfather because of a conflict, would you want to help them to keep their face? Safe face.
So
Would you ever want to embarrass them?
I think it depends on the situation, because with them wanting to be machos, machismo, they're always going to want to be right and everything. And then me being the person I am, I'm just gonna I'm gonna rebuttal. So it's not the fact that I don't want them to like save their face. I just want them to understand.
Okay.
So yeah.
So, very good, very good. So, what technique might you use so that they will be willing to listen? So, the first thing I said to you, no, who's got setting the stage? Yeah, pre-negotiation, that's you, okay. So, for this guy, is he's going to be talking about pre-negotiation. And he was going to speak to your father or your grandfather. What words of wisdom would you give him as part of his pre-negotiation or setting the stage? What do you want him to know? Especially, are you Latino? Okay. So, what would you culturally want him to know before having that discussion?
Very stubborn. Very, very stubborn. But if you just, hear them out and then you talk, then they'll like agree to disagree,
Uh-huh.
But
Okay. So his strategy, did you hear that, is to first allow the person to talk before you talk, right?
Right.
All right. So that's going to lie into some of your approaches as well. Very good. Excellent. Good job. Good job. All right. So don't put the blue one back up there. You can just set that there, and I'll clean it later. All right. Good.
You're a racist.
No, we may want to just build on it. All right. So that takes us to step number 1. So who's our number 1 step? Okay, come on up.
You also have to cover collaboration. You want me to focus on that
Yes,
too?
that'd be awesome.
So I'm covering the pre-negotiation phase, which is the phase of an argument where you want to try and prepare for it. You're not always going to have a lot of time. Some arguments need to be solved immediately, and some, you can say, hey, we need to talk about this like tomorrow at a later date. And some of the steps you want to try and take with that is just to prepare as much as possible, set a time and date for it if it can wait. Figure out what you want to come from that specific encounter.
Okay, very good. Is it important to know what goals you want to achieve?
Very important, because that will help structure the argument.
Okay. And is there ever a line that says, I will go up to this point, but I won't go any farther?
Yes, there is.
Why?
Because you have to have a limit of what you're willing to give for the argument. Just because if not, then then you could possibly get stepped on the entire way and lose all the progress you wanted to make.
Very good. And you're a fox, right?
Yes.
So why would that be important for a person who typically is a fox compromiser? Why would that be valuable for you?
Because I don't want to lose or gain more than the other person. I want things to come to an equal outcome.
Okay, very good. Which then puts you up into collaboration, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
All right, excellent. Good
So,
job.
so collaborating is similar with compromising, but it's a higher degree of involvement in the situation. You may know the people personally, or the situation may affect you personally instead of just, settling an argument at work. They tend to ask a lot of questions, and they tend to, try and get both sides of the story as much as they can, get as much information as possible before making any sort of decision. They also tend to avoid personal biases whenever dealing with it. Just so everything comes out fair and there's no like, well, he's my son, so I'm gonna, bias towards him kind of situation.
Very good. All right. Excellent. Good job. You may sit down. That takes us to stage number 2, opening stage. Peyton, what you got?
All right, so with the opening stage, you want to establish a common ground with the person and use like we language, like not just refer to them as the problem. It's our problem. You want to resolve together, not just put all the blame on as one person. Set a tone that's likely to receive a response instead of them blowing up in your face or along those lines. Says to open a conversation with like a topic related to it, but not just like coming straight out of the gate with the problem, kind of like to your way around to the problem. Like start it with like, how was your day? And then whatever your topic of the problem is, like if it's their cleanliness, like set an example in here, like we worked hard to afford this apartment and we need to work together to keep it clean. Like something along those lines.
Yeah, very good.
And other than that, it's just don't come out with a rude approach because that'll also lower your chances for a response.
All right, now, Peyton's dilemma, his conflict over there is on the right. He has a parent who wants him to work a lot more hours and go to school and probably to pass those classes, yes?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So given what you just went over, how are you going to approach this conversation? Is this your mom or dad? Your dad. So how would you even approach this conversation right off to talk to your dad about it?
Well, first off, go at it calmly, not just. I mean, like my dad didn't go to school after high school. Like he just went straight to work out of high school. So I really couldn't talk about school because he didn't go to school. But I mean, he knows how busy it is to be at work all the time, and so maybe along the lines of that, like comparing the time spent at work with the time spent at school. Right now, it's a lot more at work than at school.
All right. And school is not just sitting your butt in the classroom, right?
Yes, ma'am.
It also requires you to be doing other time elements, right? So, what kind of a job do you have?
I work at Aberdeen Supply.
Okay, do you work with your dad?
No,
Okay, good.
I tried that.
What?
I tried that.
Okay, that's just not gonna work. All right, and you know. All right, so, what does your dad do?
Well, he owns a farm. I live on a farm,
Okay,
and we do Black Angus cattle, which is like meat cattle instead of dairy.
Yeah.
And then he also works for like a satellite company.
okay, all right, so he's got two jobs,
Mhm.
conflicting priorities. Those cows still gotta be fed.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so could you find some common ground there where here he is, two jobs conflicting? School is a job.
hmm
You have a job called school and the school by helping out at Aberdeen, what is it,
Yeah, it's a feed store.
feed store, right? Wait a minute, do you also help out on the farm?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, how many jobs is that, you guys? 3. Woo, wait. All right. Now, you don't want to make him look bad,
No.
all right? But he definitely could understand a little bit, okay?
Mhm.
So first you maybe ask him, so what might be a way to start the conversation so that you could illustrate your common ground?
Asking him how work is and how busy it could be managing multiple things.
Good, good. And you can say, yeah, I know what that's like. I'm doing that too. Okay, good job. All right, excellent. All right. So now we have number 3, Isabel. Let's explore, let's explore. So we've set the tone. We've established some common ground. Okay?
Okay,
Yeah.
so in exploration, you're basically trying to figure out the problem
Talk to your class.
and asking questions to allow that person to clarify like what's happening to help you understand their perspective. And so at the beginning, questions that you can ask are like what's going on and who's involved. And then to understand their problems and needs, you ask like what makes you think slash feel this way, or what can this person that you're dealing with change in order to help you or meet your needs. And so I was looking at the collaboration style on page 17. I was looking at tips, and it says to distinguish the people from the problem and don't make it personal when you're asking the
Ding,
questions.
ding, 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 ding. Excellent.
Yeah, you don't want to make it seem like you're coming at them when you're asking the questions. You want to basically like be a friend, just be a detective kind of.
Very, very good. All right. So, do you have a significant other in your life?
I do not.
Okay. Do you have anybody putting undue burdens on you right now?
Maybe, yeah.
A little bit. All right.
Yeah, could be.
All right. So, what might be some questions to get that person to open up so you could understand a little more?
Okay, so you could ask what it is that they have a problem with, what they want to do. Help, I guess.
Okay. And ask for specifics,
Mhm.
right? So get to
Get to the bottom of it.
lots of examples. Because what you're trying to do is to find some point of possible, collaboration or sharing or even compromise. Yeah. Very good. All right. That's you, Ethan.
All right. I see my thinking of the public speaking stuff.
I know it.
Just out of curiosity, how many of us have a chore or responsibility that we just absolutely don't like doing? Like we would, don't everyone raise their hands at once. How many of us also wish we can get away with not having to do it as much? Like without having to touch it, it was done. Okay, same show of hands. Got it. Okay. This is where bargaining comes into play. Bargaining is great because I can look at a situation with bargaining and go, okay, this is the underlying problem. I don't like doing this. Now, I'm really good at this. I don't like doing it, but I can do it either way. Bargaining is interesting because I can look at it and go, okay, if I don't like doing it so much, how about this? Why don't we set up a schedule? Why don't we set up times where we can both work on this situation? Where, let's say in the book, it's to use dishes for an example. For example, I don't like doing dishes. So that being said, I can look at, for example, my brother and go, hey, we both know that we both don't like doing dishes. However, because I'm better with doing the trash and taking care of the recycling, why don't you take care of the dishes, or at least a part of it, and I'll take care of the rest. Like divvy it up, reach a compromise. I mean, for example, we had a hypothetical in here about spending more time with a significant other. I don't have a significant other. I'm okay with this, but I've experienced this before. And one of the underlying problems that was there was it wasn't just not enough time in our view to like hang out and do stuff together. So we reached a compromise. Granted, it wasn't the greatest compromise in the world, but it worked. I took a lot of time off of the things I did, and which included work, school, extracurriculars, and I spent time with her. Wasn't a great idea. Well, because
I'm starting to see a problem here. What do you think?
So for me, that is what we call a.
Got the blue.
Okay, fine.
I didn't clean the blue.
I'm sorry. So this is what we would call. You have multiple outcomes. You have a possible win, a possible loss. You also have a win-win, which is a 50-50 compromise because there's no way in bargaining to truly win because there's got to be there has to be a common ground somewhere where everyone can agree on something. Then you have a total loss, meaning you've lost everything. You've lost the entire argument. You've lost all the bargaining stage because you've just given control of it to the other person. This is where we really have to be careful with bargaining because you could look at it and go, well, I don't like doing this. You take it from here, and they can just say, okay, well, if I've got control, I'm just going to take this, and this, and leave you with pennies on the dollar.
That's right. Excellent.
And that pretty much just concludes bargaining as a whole.
Okay. One of the things that you started off at the very beginning was recognizing preferences. So one of the ways in a negotiation that does feel more win-win is that you listen to what a person prefers to do. If you both don't like to do dishes, do you prefer doing dishes over something else, right? And if you can identify a preference, then that is the foot in the door to get into a feeling of, all right, well, I can give a little bit here, or I can do this if you do that, and get that win-win. So excellent, excellent strategy. You've got to figure out what people want, all right? By the way, we use that in sales. That's what we use when we try and sell something. What are your preferences? Would you rather have that car in red or blue?
To be honest, if I could choose the color, I'd rather it be black.
There you go. I can get black for you. How about if I got that black for you?
Well, it depends. How much are you upcharging for that?
Well, we'll have to talk about that.
That's something I'm discussing with financing.
All right, see? So that's basically what all those salespeople do to you as well. All right, very good, very good. All right, preferences. So, do you ever give an ultimatum?
Oh, of course not.
Oh,
You never want to give
excellent.
an ultimatum.
Excellent. All right. That takes us to, all right, bring it home, settlement. Yay!
The settlement stage is the beginning of resolution. It's saying this is the option that we've discussed and agreed on. Is this okay? Is this the final, what we're deciding on? So let's take, for example, person 1 and person 2 have discussed 3 options. Option 1 dropped off, wasn't viable. Option 2 and 3 were the most discussed. Person 1 says, is option 2 what we're going with? Is this what we've decided on? Person 2 can then say, yes it is, or no it isn't. If they answer no, then you can go back to the previous stage and find a better solution. And then after that, it's important to meet back up with the person to make sure that this issue stays resolved. It's important to make sure that, firstly, they're upholding their end. Let's say, I say, I'm going to do this on this day, and you're going to do this on this day. It's agreed. They still have to do their deal. You can't just end there. But if something comes up, then you return to the previous stages. Rinse and repeat until the issue is solved.
So have you tried this with your significant other?
Yeah.
And?
We'd resolve text or call once a week if we could.
Okay, so that worked.
Yeah.
So you actually use this technique.
Yeah.
Did you say as a follow-up with him that, this is what I want, did you agree to this?
Yeah.
Did we agree to this?
Yeah.
Is this what we're going to do? We did. You're good. All right, excellent. Good job, you guys. All right, so that's what it is. Now, this feels like it's very much a step by step by step by step. Sometimes you may go faster one step. Sometimes you have to retreat back into another step. And right now it feels like it's very conscious. But when you're in it, you're doing it. You're good. And you can do this with practice. So let me stop this right here.